Hello everyone and welcome to this new video. Today we are going to go and analyze a new psychological approach, a new psychological discipline called genetic epistemology. In fact, around the 20s, in parallel with the birth of Gestalt, this new approach, genetic epistemology, came to light thanks to Jean Piaget, which is an alternative approach to the study of thought and intelligence. This general theory of knowledge, precisely genetic epistemology, is based on the observation of how intelligence changes and the different forms that intelligence takes in the development of the individual. Piaget, in order to formulate this theory, starts from the observation of intelligent behavior during the development of the individual and then succeeds in formulating a theory precisely of child development that will become such an important theory that to this day it will be taken in comparison with other theories and will also be used by educators precisely in practice, that is, in educational practice. Piaget in practice in this theory considers that the child's learning and cognitive development is a continuous assimilation of all the information that the child captures from the outside world and then later uses to modify the environment from which it is drawn. At this point in Piaget's view, intelligence is precisely that ability of each individual to adapt his or her behavior to various modifications of the surrounding environment. For Piaget, psychic development occurs through interaction with the surrounding physical and social environment, and the child possesses from birth a set of basic reflexes and also a programming of the form and succession of developmental stages. He therefore already possesses within himself this programming, and instead the environment suggests stimuli for the elaboration of mental structures and their content. Thus, learning is adaptation and is a construction that depends on the activity the child does and the consequent psychic modifications. In the development of the child's intelligence and thinking, the child's surroundings are important, but the influence that adults or peers, the child's friends, may have are not so fundamental, since it is an individual process that the child himself has to carry out. In fact, Piaget believes that the times and stages of psychological development are universal and unchangeable anyway. So a teaching that may come from outside, for example a verbal teaching that an adult may give, has its own importance only in the case where the child by himself has taken that next step and endows by himself with meaning what is said to him by the adult. Consequently, to all that I have just said, education for Piaget cannot produce changes in the pupil, cannot produce progress in the pupil, but must necessarily prepare the environment suitable for the fact that they then appear on their own, that is, during the individual's own action with the environment. Thus, the driving force of the child's intelligence is precisely his action in interacting with the environment, as might a child immersed in nature, discovering nature, or a child having fun in the laboratory, discovering all the tools there are in the laboratory itself. What must the educator do? Basically, he must set up the ideal conditions that will help the child himself to be autonomous in doing, that is, to be able then to experiment on his own. Genetic epistemology therefore focuses its attention, the focus of its attention, precisely on these stages of the child's developmental development, of the child's cognitive development, so it focuses all its attention on the study of cognitive functions and structures related to intelligence, while glossing over what is the affective aspect, which instead is the basis of cognitive development as far as Freud, for example, is concerned. In fact, for Freud, we had already seen that the whole aspect related to affect and emotions was very important. These stages of cognitive development for genetic epistemology are very important and are mainly concentrated in the early years of life. Indeed, Piaget tends to show in his theory, first of all, how qualitatively different the child's and the adult's modes of thinking are. In a second step, however, he goes on to analyze what are those structural differences with which the individual approaches the surrounding reality, and consequently how the individual stage after stage deals with these problems of adaptation to that reality. At this point, in order to explain these differences in adaptation to reality, Piaget divides the child's cognitive development into 4 stages sequential to each other, which we have already analyzed in the video devoted entirely to Piaget that you can catch up on above. Anyway, the stages quickly, I list them for you, and there are 4 precisely. The first one is the sense-motor stage that goes from 0 to about 2 years of age. Then there is the second stage called preoperative stage that goes from about 2 to 6 years of age. The third stage, on the other hand, is the concrete operant stage that goes from about 6 to 12 years of age. Finally, there is the formal operative stage that goes from 12 years old and up. Well, with this talk on genetic epistemology, precisely Piaget's theory on the cognitive development of the child, which is still considered really an important basis on which to debate from a psychopedagogical point of view, and on which to also address practical problems from an educational point of view. My video today is over. I bid you farewell. Thank you for your attention and see you next time.